Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at an updated list of Wobbuffet Crobat. I've not looked at this deck for quite a while, and it's evolved quite a lot since the last time I looked at it and profiled it, so it's going to be interesting to see how it's built these days. And I've been toying around with Wobbats for a while, and this is pretty much where I've landed at the moment. It does have some pretty decent matchups around a lot of different things, and I think it's being slept on at the moment. I think it's actually a pretty good contender in the current format right now. You have a lot of answers to things, and yeah, it's an interesting pick. So the way PTCGO works, I have to go out of full screen, so pause the video now if you want to get a quick look at the deck, but we will be hopping into the Pokemon. And first of all, Wobbuffet is our main attacker. 110 HP, Psychic type is pretty decent. Bite Barricade is his ability, which makes him a real threat in the format, really. As long as he's in the active position, each player can't use any abilities other than Psychic Pokemon's abilities. So stuff like Hooper and Bats, they still work, but something like a Shaman EX's setup ability would not work. And this is one way we're going to already be on the front foot and kind of annoy our opponent by not giving them a very good setup. Shaman literally has the ability set up, and it helps players draw into more cards and get good opening turns going, really. And Wobbuffet with this ability is going to make it very awkward for them to do that. In terms of long game, there are a couple of ability focused decks. Decks like Greninja really need their snipes to do any sort of damage, so they have to Lysandre around Wobbuffet a lot, which is awkward for them. And most of the time Greninja's only playing one Lysandre, so it's a real strain on their VS Seekers, which is pretty good for us. And there will be turns where they simply can't use their snipes, so we're going to use the Bite Barricade, keep Wobbuffet in the active to make it awkward for that deck to deal with us, which is kind of cool. And he's our main attacker, not just something to sit in the active position. Typically he has been used as a bench, like just something to throw up for things like Gengar and Donphan, but here we actually attack with him. Psychic Assault does 10 damage, plus 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. For a Psychic and Colourless, that makes it very cheap with Dimension Valley. That's just a single attachment. We can do pretty decent numbers. It starts off small, but he grows bigger and bigger as the turns go on. The Golbat and the Crobat see to that, as well as Bursting Balloon that we play in this deck. So let's look at the bats now. The perfect complement, really, for Wobbuffet. We have 4 Golbat, because Sneaky Bite is fantastic. We want to spam these as often as possible, placing 2 counters when we evolve into the Golbat, which is awesome. Provides us with free retreat. Bear in mind we have to use the newer Zubat. The old one got rotated, unfortunately. But this gives us free retreat when we evolve into him, and we have Swoop Across as well, which is a decent attack against stuff like Night March. Sometimes we can kill multiple Joltics if we've got multiple Sneaky Bites down, and then we use Swoop Across to take a number of prizes all at once. And then we have 3 Crobat. He has Surprise Bite, which is a slightly higher amount than the Surprise Bite, so we get to do 30 when we evolve into this guy. Skill Dive is also a really nice attack. It's a 30 snipe anywhere. Again, that can be for free if we have our Dimension Valley in play, which is pretty good. 130 HP is decent as well. It keeps out of range, keeps it annoying for a lot of decks. Sometimes we can tank hits with Crobat and simply free retreat out of there for when Wobbuffet isn't entirely needed in the active. If they've managed to get their setup going later on in the game, we can go into Crobat as an attacker, because oftentimes starting out on new Pokemon that have no damage on them, Wobbuffet starts off very low once again, so sniping around the board maybe can be useful for stuff like Night March, but also just getting a preliminary 30 rather than 10 from the actual Wobbuffet is actually helpful to us, so pretty nice all round there. We are playing a couple of extra Pokemon in here. 1 Miltank is very helpful. Powerful Friends does a base of 10, which is low, just like Wobbuffet, but once we do have a Crobat set up, Powerful Friends does an additional 70 damage. So that's a base of 80, way higher than the base of 10 that Wobbuffet was doing. Like I was saying with the Skill Dive just a moment ago, once we've dealt with, sometimes it's a big EX Pokemon that we've just dealt with, and now, again, we have to start with Wobbuffet poking for 10 a turn. That's not very good for us, so we want to go into the Miltank in those situations, get that 80 damage straight on the board, and hopefully we can 2-shot then with a Wobbuffet the following turn, or if Miltank survives, we can carry on using Powerful Friends with him. Also, he's important, for Shaman Loop. Shaman Loop is a bit of an issue for this deck, because we can sometimes concentrate a couple of bats and then we're just poking for low numbers with Psychic Assault. But with a Miltank, we just need one Crobat and Miltank, so we get around Shaman a little bit nicer than we would with Wobbuffet, where we need to hit Crobat and Golbat in the same turn. Especially in the later turns when we've already got pretty much full lines of bats on our bench, we can be annoyed and frustrated by Shaman EX loop. So Miltank gets around that slightly, which is good for us. So, we also play 2 Jirachi promo. This is a card that's been thrown into a bunch of different decks. I know Greninja's playing a lot of Jirachi promo. A bunch of different things are using this card because of its Stardust attack. We do 10 damage, which isn't too influential a lot of the time, but the ability of this attack is really good. Discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's pretty good against stuff like Toadina, Vespiquen Vileplume, Night March. All of these things are frustrated by this. And if we do, we're immune next turn, so people are really frustrated by this. So immunity is great. It basically means we need to be Lysandred around if they want to kill something that turn. And if they're using a Lysandre, specifically for Night March, it means they're not using Hex Maniac. This is very similar to how Greninja will beat Night March, or attempt to beat Night March. You use a Jirachi promo, so either you guarantee yourself another DCE get taken off, because they have to, or either they pass a turn, which gives you a turn, to keep doing stuff and setting up more board, or they attach DCE, Lysandre, something else, then you get to take another DCE with Jirachi all over again. Or, so if they do that, you can use your bat damage to run back into the prize race, take more Night Marchers out and stuff like that. So basically we're going to try and force someone to not be able to use Hex and Lysandre in the same turn. This is the sort of situation that Jirachi puts Night March players in, and it really lets us benefit fully from our bat drops, which is very important. So Jirachi's really nice for Night March, as well as, of course, Toad and Vespiquen Vileplume as well. We have a really strong Vespiquen because we have Bide Barricade, so we can always use our items. So it's a pretty easy matchup for us, especially with these 2 Jirachi. We're able to Stardust and really limit them, starve them of their resources to win those games. So very nice addition, gives us some nice, better matchups around the board pretty much. So there it is, there's the Pokemon. That's pretty much all the tricks that we have in the deck. From then on, I'm just trying to be as consistent as possible. We are playing 1 Super Rod, recycles our energy as well as our bat line, which is important. In certain matchups, it can be the Jirachi that gets recycled, or the Miltank as well, so that's good to be aware of. We are playing 2 Acro Bike. The deck can be kind of slow sometimes, so Acro Bike allows us to mill through a couple more cards, which is helpful. We are playing 2 Level Ball. This is the only Ball Search card we are playing. So it can only get lower forms of the bats and the Jirachi, but I think that's really all we need to search for. It's kind of weird to say that we don't need to search for our main attacker, but normally we can draw naturally into this card, especially with the Acro Bikes, with Misty being a pseudo-search card as well. Normally we should be able to draw into the Wobbuffets. The biggest thing we worry about is getting these bats out. Bats are basically our damage, so that's the big headache for us. So just get the level balls. I think that's all we really need to use for ball search. Repeat ball is an option for you, but we play quite a few different cards and like 1 or 2 ofs. I think that's something I've tried but not liked, so I much prefer level ball in here. Don't really like Ultra Ball. We have a lot of resources that I don't like discarding, and especially in this deck where you have janky like stage 2s coming up later and stuff like that, you don't want to have painful discards, so I'm happy to not play Ultra Ball and just stick with 2 level ball because Brigette is our star player really in this deck early on. We are playing 2 Super Scoop Up. It helps us reuse bats, which is really important. Pretty much that's it. It's our only real switching card other than AZ as well, so if we happen to start Miltank, we're pretty sad, but we can Super Scoop Up out of there because it does have a 2 retreat cost. Similar for Wobbuffet, a 2 retreat cost is annoying. We're not playing Mystery Energy because of the Jirachi and the Miltank being viable attackers, so Super Scoop Up might be our way out of Wob. 4 ofs of Trainer's Mail and VS Seeker, pretty normal stuff. 1 Ace Trainer is really nice. Again, it's something for Night March, where normally they're going to race ahead, then we're going to use stuff like Jirachi to slowly get rid of their energy. Ace Trainer puts them into an even more awkward situation. Even if we are just leading Wobbuffet in the active, plus Ace Trainer, it can really put them into awkward spots where sometimes we can even get donks on things. So Ace Trainer is pretty handy. AZ, going to respam these bats most of the time. Like I was saying, it's our guaranteed switch card as well. 3 Brigette is a real star player in the deck. getting the early turn 1 is super important. So I think 3 Brigette is pretty justified in here. She's a pretty dead card later on in the game, but really she is the nuts turn 1, so you want to hit this off quite frequently. Brigette is very helpful for you, so it gets you basically 3 bats down straight away, unless it's a matchup where you want to use your Jirachis, or if you haven't got many Wobbuffets just yet. So this is our main search for Wobbuffet, which is why we don't need any ball search for the actual main attacker in the deck. So develop early bats, that's how we win the game basically. Brigette helps us do that. We are playing 2 Lysandre. Trying to target things on the bench is often a strategy for us, so Lysandring them up is important. Equally, if we're going for like 2 shots on certain things that they retreat to the bench, we want to Lysandre them up to finish them off, so it's also a very important supporter. We are playing 1 Misty. I'm playing like a 1-3 split really of Sycamore. I'll describe these cards together because whenever I play this deck with 4 Sycamore, I feel like we mill too quickly. We don't really do enough damage quickly enough to win games and take the 6 prizes. I often find myself low on deck size, and that's a way we can lose the game. So instead, I just want to have 3 Sycamore, have pretty much access to it enough throughout the game. We obviously have VS Seeker to reuse it if we're really desperate. But also we have the Misty. It's the approach where we can get into these important cards, you know, the Crobats, the Burst Balloons, you know, Super Scoop Up even, stuff like this we can go for with Misty and not have to discard our entire hand, which really helps us out, saves our bat line a lot of the time, and most of the time Misty's just a good option for you for the VS Seeker as well. It's just an extra out for stuff, which is kind of cool. It's effectively for Sycamore, but Misty is way weaker in some situations, but in others it's pretty fine. We are playing 1 Xerosic as well. Xerosic is basically the Fighting Fury Belt killer, because Fighting Fury Belt is really annoying for this deck. Too much HP. Big EXs just become even bigger with Fighting Fury Belt, which is awkward. Night Marchers, they become less weak to bats, so you want to use Xerosic to get rid of those things. Pretty important, to be honest. Also, we can get rid of Special Energy. Once again, it's something that we can use for Night March, Toad, Vespival. All of these things really don't like losing their energy, so pretty good stuff. It's even decent against stuff like Yveltal and Zoroark, where they're very reliant on DCE. Xerosic can be handy, where Jirachi is less handy because oftentimes they're Y-cycloning around, so Xerosic is superior in those situations. We have 3 D-Valley. It makes Wobbuffet a lot cheaper. It makes Crobat free, which is important and very good for the deck. 3 Bursting Balloon. This is another new addition to the deck. I really like it. It's again something that puts people into awkward spots. People need to hit Lysandres, people need to hit Xerosics, or they can sometimes just miss a turn of attacking, and that can be really good for us. Certain decks will still hit into you, like Toad. Oftentimes they'll have to tank the 6 counters from Bursting Balloon, because they need to get the Quaking Punch going, or they need to continue with Quaking Punch. So Bursting Balloon can sometimes get the effect of the 6 counters. Oftentimes, because it is Wobbuffet, people are like, no, I don't want to go anywhere near this Bursting Balloon. I'm going to try and either get rid of it, Lysandre around it, or if I can't do any of those things, I'll just pass the turn. And even then, we're quite happy, because this deck takes time to build up damage. If they've passed the turn, it gives us an extra turn of options to try and find more Golbats, more Crobats, and get Wobbuffet attacking, basically. So Bursting Balloon can be amazing just for stalling us out turns. Additionally, it's very helpful again for Night March, another tool that we have to try and force them into awkward spots. It means that Crobat becomes a really viable attacker, I feel, because putting a Crobat in the active is sometimes awkward for you. Putting a Bursting Balloon on there means that oftentimes they're going to Lysandre around him, so Crobat stays a viable attacker for you, or a viable option for AZ or Super Scoop Up, and you're much happier with that happening. Obviously, sometimes the Crobat is so threatening that they have to tank the 6 counters on other things, or they have to use Sky Return that turn. Again, it's a way that you can stall out and have extra options against that deck, and really slow down the prize race on their side. So Bursting a Balloon, another headache for a bunch of different decks. Really, really nice card. And then just 9 Psychic. Not playing Mystery Energy because these guys are also very important attackers, and there's a lot of Special Energy hate around at the moment. I just don't want to deal with that. So we'll just stick with basic energy. I feel that's the strongest. So yeah, that's the list. A couple of other options for the deck. This is something that I've toyed with the most. I've not got it to work, but it's something that you could attempt. Shop It has been my option over Jirachi for a while in this deck because of the Blette attack. It does the same thing as Jirachi, but no immunity. It's weaker for sure, but then it allows you to use the Bayonet, which I really want to play this card, but whenever I have, I've just not found it quite good enough. Bayonet offers some interesting options. Evolution Jammer can be really annoying for decks like Greninja. It forces them to continually go into Wally after Wally after Wally, which can slow them down for a lot of turns. Because we already have Wobbuffet, I don't think Evolution Jammer is that important, but also the Curse Deeply attack puts 5 counters on. It oftentimes does the same thing that a Miltank would. So maybe a thin line of Bayonet is an option that you go for, rather than the Jirachi. In terms of items and tools, I don't think there's too many things I change. Maybe more Super Scoop Up. Ball counts can always be changed. Stuff like Ultra Ball. I did also mention Repeat Ball as an option for searching out these cards. Other supporters, I don't think there's too many that you need. Delinquent might be considered because we are using Wobbuffet. So Disruption of the Hand plus Ability Lock can be good for you. And again, we're really weak to stuff like Rough Seas style decks. So having Delinquent is effectively like having a 4th D-Valley. I think if I'm making space for Delinquent, I'm probably just upping the Valley count to 4 before anything else. So yeah, a couple of considerations. This is how I like to play it at the moment. And it's a pretty decent deck, a lot of fun to play. I'll just save it up because I was making a few changes there. But we will get into a game now, and hopefully we play something meta, and hopefully we can punish them with Wobbats. It's pretty much a sleeper in the format in my opinion. Not played enough for sure, and definitely a fun deck to play. So we see Psychic Colourless. If it's Trevenant, we're not very happy because Trevor's a really bad matchup for us. The only item lock deck that we are scared of really, because it rarely uses special energy, and that's our way to win against the other trainer lock decks. And it's hard to damage a lot of Trevors. It's kind of a slow process for us. So we lead Zubat, and we are indeed up against Trevor, which is sad times for us. However, we do start with the Brigette, which is pretty good. We can get into Wobbuffet early, get as many bats down as possible. We'll attach to Wob. We will VS Seeker Brigette. I don't think I'll be using it anyway, but it's better than just a dead VS Seeker if he does get into items. D-Valley will be held, and we'll pass. Pretty sad times for us. Trevor's one of the worst matchups for this deck, so that's just unfortunate. Other bad matchups, Mega Manetric's pretty rough because they have Rough Seas to heal them off, and they have a lot of HP. Most Mega decks are difficult, stuff like Mega Ray, even though we can disrupt them with Bide Barricade, it's just a lot of HP for us to sort of get round, which is annoying. Other than that, I think it's fairly okay against quite a lot of things. Obviously, Warlord's an issue, but, you know, it's not terrible against some stuff. We do actually see a Wally to the bench because, of course, going second, he can use the Ascension attack. So we do see that. We see a setup for some cards as well. And this is going to be awkward. There is the Ascension. We're now under item lock. And we'll see how we can play around this. It's going to be a Misty here for sure. I think I'm getting rid of the D-Valley over anything else. I'm not playing the D-Valley this turn. Actually, I might need to if I miss Golbat. Okay. Trader's Mail can go. So we do hit Golbat. I think that's all I need here. Sycamore's fine, but kind of slow. I like Golbat a bit more. We have to pressure the Trevor, even though it is a lot of HP still remaining. We have to put pressure on this as best we can with lots of Wobbs. We'll manually attach again here so he doesn't have D-Valley, making it slightly less likely that he can Tree Slam. Only slightly though, because next turn we can still Brigette for Wobbuffets. The D-Valley, either we play it down ourselves and attach, or it's been played and we can just attach the single energy anyway. So we get the initial 50 on. The opponent no longer has the use of Shaman. There is D-Valley. There is the Trev Break as well, so he could be going for Silent Fear. We do see the attachment as well, though, so it will be Tree Slam this turn. Tree Slam does set up these... Wow, he didn't put them both on Zubats. That's interesting. He could have pressured a... like a multiple knockout on these Zubats, but he didn't go for that approach. We can Brigette here. One of the strengths of Brigette is that we can fish these Pokemon out. Miltank, Miltank, Miltank. It might just be double Wob here, because I don't want to give him extra Silent Fear, but I think he's forced to Tree Slam. It's awkward. I think just 2 Wob. Maybe all 3 Wob. Let's go Miltank. Not too happy about it, but I'm going for it instead as well. We'll just keep piling on the pressure with Wob. We're just going to hope that it's easier for us to set up multiple attackers than it is for him. We're under item lock, he's under ability lock. We've been able to draw out of it quite well so far, but we'll see how this continues. We do see an Ultra Ball for another Trev Break, it looks like. Yep, that's pretty bad for us. Let's see if he transitions to Silent Fear this turn. We've offered up a lot of low HP stuff, but no, he does continue to Tree Slam. Very interesting. And again, he puts the damage here. So he's anticipating to Tree Slam for a large portion of the game, I think. There is Crobat. Crobat's going to go here. And if I commit energy to Miltank, I think it's better because Tree Slam won't do much, so he'll be forced to Silent Fear. So Miltank is definitely better here. Good thing I got him out. Obviously top decking the Crobat I was unaware of, but it's definitely the better option at this point. And we hit another energy. This is a pretty good thing for us. So Trevor comes out. He might just be left using Silent Fear this turn. Taking just 1 prize seems slow. Could still be going for the Tree Slam. We do see Ultra Ball, so I have allowed him Shaman. This is something I didn't consider. I was thinking more sort of long term I can pressure this Trevor a lot better. But wow, he just goes for a Wob and a Silent Fear. So either he whiffed... Wow, that's really bizarre. Very interesting. Ooh, we can Ace Trainer. Ace Trainer actually gives him more cards. But it does give us more cards. It's a bit of a trade-off. I think it's fine to Ace Trainer. Because I want to get a Golbat and get out of range here. We do indeed hit Golbat, which is nice. So 80... 30 to 50, 50 to 120, right? Hold on. Plus 80 is 110, 130, 140. So then we need to hit exactly Crobat, and we don't have items next turn, so we're doing this on the Wobbuffet, I think. Yeah. If we top deck exactly Crobat, I'm sad. In any other situation, I'm not too worried. I guess a supporter would also be annoying. But it would have to be Sycamore or Ace Trainer or Birch or something like that. I don't think there's too many situations where we get punished here. Probably another Silent Fear this turn. Yeah. So now we're in the situation where if we want to take the knockout, we get ourselves killed as well. We do hit AZ though. Oh man, AZ wasn't out to deal with it this turn. Oh, that's annoying. I think I'm taking this option to AZ though. For sure. Because AZ plays really nicely around Silent Fear next turn. So you see the bursting balloon there for our opponent, stopping us attacking. But once this Trev break goes down, I'm very happy with the state of affairs. He must have prized a few Phantoms or something like that. We do see another energy, so he's going for Tree Slam here. Dealing with a Miltank, I think he has to. And getting more damage on the Wob and the Crobat as well. So we've got items this turn, which is pretty good. Because we can do this first off. Taking our second prize of the game. Our opponent has 2 left, so we're still quite behind. But we do have quite a lot of things to do here. Firstly, I want to get back some energy and some Pokemon. I think this is going to be important. Miltank's a very good attacker. Energy is important here. We'll grab Golbat. And put more damage on the Wob, because we can't do enough to kill the Shaman. He does have Sky Return options, so we'll go for the Acro. Definitely discard Brigette here. We already have VS Seeker anyway, but we're not too worried about that. We'll go for Acro Bike again. We can get rid of the D-Valley quite comfortably. And we do have to play around this Wob. Only 2 prizes remaining for our opponents, so leaving the Crobat is annoying if we do that. Misty's an option. Ace Trainer's the option I think I'm going to be taking here. It's just if I want to commit this bursting balloon, and if so, where? I think I am committing bursting balloon. It could be so relevant later, but we still have plenty in the deck. Okay, let's just commit it and Ace Trainer here. There's Miltank. That's really good for us. Get use out of Trainer's Mail while we can. I'll grab VS Seeker and I think I'll use it. Do we really play around Retreat, Bench, Wally? How many Wallies has he used? 1, 0 VS Seeker. Still could happen. I think we play around it. I think AZ is the card I take here. And I'm still going to Trainer's Mail. Probably could have Trainer's Mail first and seen what we got. We've already got Lysandre in hand. Super Scoop Up's fine to take here. I think I will be using it as well. Get a Tails. So we'll just retreat and hit for 80 here. See how our opponent plays around this. Miltank has been a star player this game. We've managed to do really well under this item lock. One of the key components of this deck is Brigette, and it's really pulled its weight this game. Also having a relatively high count of energy. I've seen some Wobbats players play as low as 7 Psychic. Us playing 9 gives us much nicer time against item locking decks because we just have the energy to attach each turn. So it's very interesting so far. Let's see how our opponent can play around this. We do see just the Psychic energy to most likely retreat. Yeah, we do see the retreat of Shaman. Do we have a Lysandre? No, just a Psychic Assault for 10. That's really good for us. So AZ is always happening here. Because it gives us a kill on Shaman. And it actually wins us the game. There we go. easy win against Trevenant, which is a very difficult matchup. So there we go, guys. Wobbats beat a difficult matchup. Hooray! So try it out yourself to see how it fares against a good matchup. Hope you all enjoyed this video, guys. That is Wobbuffet Crobat. I think it's a real underplayed deck for what it actually can do. I think it's really annoying for a bunch of different things in format. Bursting Balloon's a nice addition, which gives it a new, different flavour as well, a different headache for different decks to play around. So, hope you all enjoyed. It's been Joe from OmniPoke, and I will see you guys next time.